No one ever talked about room 417. You couldn't find it in the hotel reviews, it was mysteriously absent from the guest registry, and the staff wouldn't even mention it in whispers. But when Daniel Harper checked in, that was the key he was given. He'd been on the road for what felt like an eternity when the storm finally broke. Rain lashed against his windshield with a fury, and jagged bolts of lightning ripped the night sky in two. The hotel seemed to materialize from the downpour, its neon sign flickering desperately. The Morrow Hotel. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old carpet and a century of dust. A single buzzing lamp cast long shadows from behind the front desk. The clerk, a man with eyes as old as the building, didn't bother to smile. "You'll be in room 417, he stated, his voice flat as he slid a tarnished brass key across the worn wooden counter. Daniel paused, his hand hovering over the key. "I didn't request a specific room," he said, a note of confusion in his voice. The clerk's gaze lifted, slow and heavy. "It requested you." The first night in room 417 was ordinary, almost aggressively so. The bed was neatly made, the wallpaper was faded but clean, and a large, simple mirror hung on the wall directly opposite the door. Daniel locked it behind him, letting out a nervous laugh. It was just the storm, just the long drive getting to him. He was exhausted. But at exactly 17 a.m., he was jolted awake. A voice, a chilling whisper, was breathing his name right next to his ear. "Daniel." His eyes shot open to complete darkness. The room was pitch black, except for one thing. The mirror. A soft, ethereal glow was pulsing from its surface, like a slow, breathing light. Daniel sat bolt upright in bed, his heart hammering against his ribs. The whisper came again, closer this time. "Daniel, you're late." Late for what? He cautiously slid out of bed and approached the mirror, his bare feet cold on the floorboards. As he moved closer, he realized his reflection wasn't moving with him. It stood perfectly still, watching him. Then, as if an invisible finger was tracing the glass from the other side, letters began to form in the condensation. "You promised you'd come back." Daniel stumbled back, hitting the wall. "I've never been here before," he whispered, his voice trembling. The reflection in the mirror smiled. A cold, knowing smile. "Yes, you have." The room suddenly felt claustrophobic, the walls seeming to press inward. The air growing thick and heavy. A tidal wave of memories crashed into his mind, but they weren't his. He saw a raging fire, heard terrified screams, felt the panic of locked doors. He saw a woman's face, her hands pounding on glass, her mouth forming silent pleas for him to open the door. His knees gave out and he collapsed. "No, I don't remember any of this." The reflection's smile vanished. "That's why the room remembers for you." Scrambling to his feet, Daniel tore the door open and fled into the hallway. It was completely empty, silent. Down the hall, the elevator doors stood wide open, as if waiting for him. He sprinted towards them, desperate for escape, but once inside, he saw that all the floor buttons had been scratched out, rendered useless. All except one, a pristine button labeled 417. Before he could react, the doors slammed shut on their own. The elevator didn't move. He turned and saw his reflection again in the polished brass walls. But this time, the face staring back was burned, charred black. The eyes were hollowed out pits of despair. "You left us," the reflection said, its voice a calm, damning whisper. "When the fire started, you ran. I didn't know anyone was trapped," Daniel screamed, his voice raw. The reflection leaned forward until its face filled the mirror. "But you heard us." The elevator doors chimed and slid open. He was back in room 417. Only it wasn't the same. The walls were now blackened with soot, the ceiling was stained with smoke, and charred handprints were burned into the wood of the door. Silent, shadowy figures stood in the corners of the room, their eyes fixed on him, the woman from his vision, the one from the fire. Step forward from the shadows. "This room exists for one reason," she said, her voice filled with a profound sadness. "To remember those who were forgotten." Daniel fell to his knees, broken. "What do you want from me?" he sobbed. With a deafening crack, The mirror shattered. The woman's voice echoed around him. To stay. And then, the fire ignited all over again, flames erupting from the walls, licking at the ceiling. But this time, Daniel didn't run. By morning, the storm had passed. And guest, a woman on a cross-country trip, walked into the Morrow Hotel. The old clerk handed her a key. Room 417, he said. She frowned. Is that room safe? The clerk glanced down the long, empty hallway. From behind the newly repaired mirror in room 417, a soft whisper traveled through the hotel, a voice she almost thought she recognized. Don't worry, the room knows your name now.